Uber drivers, I get it. We all want to make a little more money from our Uber rides, and the best way we can really do that right now is from tips. However, getting a passenger to be willing to tip you is much easier said than done, and there's no such thing as a guarantee in this field of gig work. But one area where Uber drivers are hurting their chances of getting a tip instead of helping them is proper communication, and sometimes it pays, pun intended, to know what to say and what not to say to your passenger. So in this video, we're going to be covering 4 things you can begin saying to your Uber passengers to make more money through tips. And let me tell you, the third thing on this list was absolutely game-changing for me. Hey everybody, it's Kian with the RideShare Guy, pronounced Kian. And yes, we're gonna get straight into these tips and things that you need to start saying to your Uber passengers. Number 1, and I'm honestly surprised that there are this many Uber drivers that aren't already doing this, which is just straight up greeting your Uber passengers and confirming the drop-off location. Look, I don't care what your background is or where you come from. It never hurts to just simply greet your Uber passenger with something simple like, hey, hope your day's been going well. Something really, really simple. And also, you want to make sure near the beginning of the ride that you confirm the drop-off location very specifically, because there are instances where people will just go along with the ride and never mention the drop-off location. And then when you get to where Uber marks the drop-off location, they're like, where the hell is this? This isn't the right place. Sometimes it's an us problem, sometimes, and let's be honest, most of the time, it's an Uber problem because they marked one spot and Uber said, well, actually, we think you want to be here instead, so we're going to tell the driver to go here. But that aside, let's talk about the next thing you need to be talking about with your Uber passenger, which is confirming a comfortable atmosphere. And there are a few ways you can do this. One is simply just asking, hey, is the AC, the air temperature, is everything comfortable, okay with you? And also feel free to be specific on like if they want the temperature colder or if they want more air, that type of thing. If you're playing music in the background for yourself or for them, just ask if they have any preferred music, genres, is the current music volume good? And also something you don't have to ask them, but you can just mention is that you have chargers in the back if you need them, or just any specific amenities that they can use if they need them. And if you need any specific gadgets or gear in your car, we actually made another video linked up there talking about all of the things that we recommend Uber drivers have in their car. And also we have all of the things that we recommend on a regular basis linked down below in our Amazon storefront. And let's talk about the third thing that you need to be talking about with your Uber passengers, and the third thing you need to be doing in terms of communication with every single Uber ride. And let me tell you, learning about this and just experiencing it was game-changing. You ready for this? The thing that you absolutely need to be talking to with your Uber passenger is nothing. Nothing at all. Now, I know that might sound a little counterintuitive. This is a video about what you should be saying to your Uber passengers, but let me be clear, there is beauty in just not talking sometimes. And I mentioned this in a previous video that I did for the RideShare Guy, linked up there, where I talked about what you need to be doing in order to ensure that you're not making any mistakes on the road whilst driving for Uber. And one of them was reading the room, or more specifically, reading the car that you're in. If your passenger isn't being super communicative with you, then just make sure they have the bare essentials, the first few things that we listed, and after that, silence. Just let the ride happen. Something that I've learned personally over the last year and over the last 1,000 rides I've done with Uber. Yes, by the way, I recently just hit 1,000 Uber rides in literally just a year of full-time Uber driving, is that Uber passengers most of the time want to be left alone. There are going to be some here and there that want to have a proper communication with you, and if they do approach a conversation, approach it with them, but let them be the ones that initiate the conversation. They will make it adamantly clear if they want to have a conversation with you. And if they do, of course, engage and ask questions and listen more specifically, more than anything else. But if not, respect that, crank the music up a little bit for yourself, and enjoy the ride. And number 4, the last thing, and this actually is something that I do want you to start saying to your Uber passengers in order to get more tips, is not specifically asking for tips, but something else that's going to bring them back into the Uber app once the ride ends. Because look, a lot of Uber passengers, when the ride is done, they're not going to pay attention to the Uber app, even if you ask them to leave you a tip. And they say, yeah, sure, I'll tip you in the app. And then they just never do. Come on, we've all had that happen. But I want to give a shout outs to Levi over at Tip You in the App, because I actually learned this bit of advice from him a little while ago, which is simply just to ask the passenger to leave like an honest review on the app when the ride is finished on their side. Because if there's going to be any way that you're able to engage them going back into the app, simply just ask if they'll leave an honest review. You know, most of the time they're going to say, yeah, I'll give you 5 stars or whatever. And then directly after they do that, they're going to get recommended to the tip page from Uber's side. And if they truly enjoyed the ride and were already willing to go back into the app and give you 5 stars, the chance of them actually tipping you is going to be the highest it's ever going to get at this point. Now, something that I should mention is that this is not a foolproof method, because there's no way to get people and force people to tip you unless Uber starts, forcing people to tip. Nothing's going to change that. Some people are just never going to tip their drivers, and that's something you just have to live with as a driver, knowing that a lot of people don't want to tip. And with rides getting more and more and more expensive, I mean, we can't really blame them. So at the end of the day, don't worry too much about if you're going to get every single passenger to tip, and try to get as many passengers as you can possible to tip. And let me tell you, all of these pieces of advice over my personal experience has made me go from getting, I don't know, probably 20%, if that, of my Uber passengers tipping. Now I'm at least getting like 50, 60% of my passengers. And this includes UberX and Comfort and every single tier that I do driving for Uber. And sometimes they're not massive tips. Sometimes they're, simple $1, $2, $3 tips, but those add up over time, and you have to enjoy them when you get them. But we want to hear from you guys below. What pieces of advice would you guys give to other Uber drivers around in talking to Uber passengers, not only just to have better conversations, but also to increase the amounts of tips that you guys get? So leave a comment down below, and also make sure you're subscribed to the RideShare Guy, because we post as often as possible with the highest quality Uber content from Uber drivers all around the world. And if you guys enjoyed this video, you can check out my YouTube channel. Again, that was Kian, or at Key in the Car on YouTube. Would really appreciate you checking me out over there. And with all that said and done, that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and stay cool.